and welcome to Gentle Yoga at Noontime. I'm Jeani, your host for the next hour. And in this class, we're looking at giving ourselves the space and the practice to kind of warm up our joints, our large muscle groups, our cooling down period where we get to stretch and kind of respond to a little bit of the heat at the first half of class. So that being said, we're still continuing with what we've been doing for the last couple of weeks, just focusing on a balancing pose on our way down to the mat and hip openers, things to just sort of get to the usual areas of the body that we want to keep limber and flexible. So that being said, let's start at the back of the mat, and hopefully you have some water as well, especially with the heat. It just gets better to have a little bit of water available, sips in case. And starting at the back of the mat, just give yourself a few moments to arrive. You can have a bend to the knees, and as you begin to just notice how you feel. How does the mat feel under the feet? How are you arriving? And as you quiet down, we'll begin to cultivate our connection to the breath and the body. Standing in our mountain, let's go ahead, bring our left hand to gently rest on the heart, right hand underneath the belly button. Just begin to breathe. Notice how the air enters the body. The hand on the chest, perhaps lifting at the top of the inhale. And as you begin a more controlled exhale, assist the air leaving the body with that gentle press of the belly hand. Engage the core at the bottom of the exhale. And as the breath rate, heart rate begins to slow down, we'll finish cultivating the breath with the sound of the ocean at the back of the throat. Staying connected to the Ujjayi breath all throughout the practice, on and off the mat. Let's go ahead and bring our hands down to our sides. Go ahead and roll to the toes, roll back to the heels. We'll begin the next breath. Inhaling, slowly lifting energy through the feet, up the body, to the crown of the head and beyond. Exhaling, feeling the energy reverse order towards the mat, towards the feet, rooting down at the bottom of the exhale. Let's go ahead and inhale next, tipping the weight at the bottom of the feet towards the toes. Get the center of gravity to that tipping point at the top of the breath so that you can use the next breath to slowly move the center of gravity towards the heels. Get to that tipping point, and then just use the next couple of breaths to feel that heel to toe alignment, the center of gravity eventually resting at the top of the ankles, nearer to the heels in mountain. Go ahead and reset the mountain, inhaling, energizing upwards, feeling a little longer and taller in our mountain with each iteration. Go ahead and exhale, roll the weight towards the outer right edge of your feet. Long, tall body. Inhale all the way back up, or continue over to the other side. You can use a two-part breath. Just inhale from one side, exhale to the other. We'll use a three-part breath. Inhale to the center, exhale over to either side. And when you've gotten that horizontal mapping, we'll meet at center in mountain once more. Reset once more, inhaling upwards. We're going to make small circles at the ankles in one direction. Let those circles get bigger to find the perimeter of the feet. And once that's identified, tighten in the circles and meet back at center. Dipping in, inhale tall once more. Same energy upwards as we make the same trip in the opposite direction at the ankles, ever widening to the perimeter in this opposite direction path, and then tightening in the circles, meeting back at home, like water going down a drain. Inhale once more. We're gonna start bringing some movement to the ankles and the hips. Widen the feet just a little more. You can pivot out the toes if you'd like. But as you shift the weight from side to side, start pivoting the torso as well. Just turn from side to side. See if you can get an articulation of the waist that's kind of opposite of the hips. And as you turn more and more of the torso towards one side, maybe it starts to line up, and you can pivot on the heels. Keep the knees safe, lifting the toes, and then let that energy kind of peter out and return back to center. Just something to help you feel a little more lubricated at the other parts of the body, at the joints. So in our mountain once more, we're moving on up the body to the shoulders. See if you can have a nice long feeling to the legs. You can still keep that micro bend to the knees, but see if you can lengthen through the legs as you return to mountain. And feeling more of that even distribution of weight at the soles of the feet. Let's go ahead and gently tuck under our tailbone, lifting up through the tailbone, all the way up through the crown of the head. We're going to go ahead and start inhaling, lift the shoulders towards the ceiling, palms facing forward. Exhale, roll them back and let them melt down. Fully exhaled at the bottom, engage the core. We'll do a total of 4 of these breath cycles of rolling the shoulders back on the exhale, lifting the shoulders up on the inhale. And just use that ocean breath to help facilitate any achiness, releasing from the shoulders, maybe from the rest of your posture as well. And after you're done with your very last roll back and down, we're going to repeat another set. This time lifting up, we're rolling forward on the exhale. See if you can completely relax the shoulder blades down the back, tipping the tips of the shoulder blades, tucking into the mid-back at the bottom of the exhale, engaging the core as well. And after that very last round, we'll go ahead and lift up the feet, reset the mountain if you need to, shake out any residual activation of muscles, and we'll move on up to the top, to the neck. Resetting mountain once more, feeling that energy lifting all the way through longer legs, upper back to the crown of the head and beyond. Go ahead and exhale, allow the right ear to dip towards the right shoulder. Inhale, lifting. Exhale, releasing. Turn the gaze if you haven't already. Keeping shoulders in line with one another, hips in line with one another, ankles evenly supporting the weight. Take the next few breath cycles. See if you can have release on the left side of the neck. Even the eyes can rest to the rightmost side of your vision. And palms should face forward to help open the shoulders. Deep ocean breaths. After the very last exhale, go ahead and bring the eyes, the gaze, the head back up with the inhale. Completely lifting at the top. Exhale on over to the other side. Inhale for length. Exhale, turn the gaze if you haven't already. And just breathe. In through the nose. Out through the nose. Maybe the very last exhale once more has the eyes resting at the leftmost of your periphery. After that last exhale, go ahead and inhale the eyes, the head, the crown of the head lifting completely at the top of the inhale. So all you have to do is let the eyes float towards the top of the mat with the exhale. Let it land somewhere at the top without leaving too much of a space, but about the size of a tennis ball underneath the chin, gently tucking but not touching the collarbone. Shoulders are still open, neck is nice and long with a slight tilt towards the ceiling at the top of the head. After that last exhale, Go ahead and bring the eyes back to center, past the center, towards the ceiling. When you can see somewhat above you, stop craning the neck and use the next 4 breath cycles to see if you can release in the throat, the jaw, the brow. See if you can soften the gaze and gently sway the lower jawline. Keeping stability at the feet, solid column of support from the shoulders down, opening up through the throat, through the face. And after the very last exhale, go ahead and bring the eyes back to center, resting at the midpoint somewhere out there. Shake out any activation in the hands, the knees, the feet. Just release. You can gently bounce. And then we'll start with our modified sun salutations, beginning with our forward folds. So standing in our mountain, a little taller, a little longer. Imagine the arms are just energizing downwards, reaching. And as we inhale, we're extending these reaching arms all the way up, hands up towards the ceiling. And at the top, go ahead and lift up from the torso. Exhale, engage the core, firm up the legs, bend the knees if you need slightly, and start to hinge at the hips. Forward folding. Somewhere halfway down, you can always walk the hands down or just let the back unfold. If you're tight, your fold might be more of a half lift. Your back is just taking some time to release. Tightness in the lower back and the hips and the knees might kind of translate to either you reaching towards this mat with your hands, or maybe your hands are on your shins, maybe forearms are on the thighs. But hopefully you're looking downward and the chest is getting a little closer as you feel that solid column of support from the hips all the way down to the heels. You can always bend the knees to feel that center of column supporting you as you start to noticeably release through the upper body. Let the arms be nice and relaxed. See if you're holding onto your head. Bobble the head gently from left to right. And as you start to release in the upper body, if you feel tightness in the back of the legs, you can keep a deeper bend to the knees. Maintain your support at the soles of the feet, near towards the heels and the ankles. And with the next inhale, we're going to do a slow roll up. And here, we're going to press into the feet, engage the core, firm up the legs, and slowly walk the hands up if you need to, but slowly curl up the spine. Engaging the core helps you to come all the way back up to mountain. Shoulders roll back and down, palms facing forward. Let the blood rush back to the head. Take a breath or two here. In a second fold, we're going to go ahead and inhale, reaching downwards. Let's go ahead and extend the arms up. At the top, fully reaching, extend through the legs in your mountain. Exhale, engage the core and fold. Float on down, walk the hands down, but come on down for your second fold. We're a little less time here, about 3 breath cycles. Go ahead and feel how the legs might be responding to your second fold. Notice if you feel better bending one knee gently, straightening it, and then alternately doing the same with the other leg. Then with the next inhale, let's go ahead and you have a choice of rolling back up once more or coming up with a straight back. Either way, engage the core, and then with the next inhale, we're going to bring the body back up to mountain, hands above the head, eventually exhaling hands down heart center. In here, let's go ahead and start our walking meditation. Inhaling, standing weight to the left side of the body. Lift the right foot. Exhale the foot down. Heel, ball of foot, toes. Lifting up on the left foot. Exhale it down. And if you feel wobbly, go ahead and engage the core. Press into the palms. See if that helps you to regain balance. It's a slow walking meditation to the top of the mat, 1 full breath cycle per step. And at the top of the mat, we'll meet in mountain, looking down at the fingertips, pressing into the palms. Inhale, watch the fingertips rise, lifting above towards the ceiling. At the ceiling, separate the palms. Exhale, hinge at the hips and fold. Float on down, walk the hands down for our third fold. Fully released here, engage the core. Inhale, press into wherever your hands have contact. Maybe it's the shins, maybe it's the floor. Feel that nice half lift. It just means lengthening from the tailbone to the crown of the head, and as best you can with the legs from the hips down to the heels. Exhale, return to your fold. Bring the hands down to either side of the feet. Step a right foot back, a left foot back, maybe a few steps back. Bring the feet back to the mat and the shoulders, inhaling them over the wrists. Exhale, bring the knees down, untuck the toes, and modified high plank is this position. So you want to make sure your shoulders are somewhat above the wrists. If the wrists are sensitive, go ahead and lift up the knees, pressing into the palms. You can hopefully just inch back a little bit, just a little, to not make the crease at your wrist such a 90-degree angle. Stick the belly button, engage the core. Stick the belly button to the spine. Feel the bottom of the legs, body being supported by the shins, perhaps the tops of the ankles, upper body by the extended arms, protracted shoulders. Let's go ahead and tuck the toes. With the next inhale, we're going to lift up the hips. Exhale, press the hips, extend through the arms, come back to the down dog. Notice where you are. In our down dog, especially the first one, we're taking about 5 breath cycles here. It may feel good to bend one knee, lengthen that leg, and then bend the other knee. Walk your dog if that feels good to you, to lengthen through the back. You can also lift up the heels, rolling to the tips of the toes, and exhale. Slowly lower the heels towards the mat. See where they land. They don't have to be on the mat. Notice if the shoulders are rotated around, away from the ears. You just want to rotate the shoulders. Maybe the crooks of the elbows are facing towards the top of the mat while the elbow bends towards the back. With the next inhale, let's go ahead and roll the eyes towards the hands. Inhaling deeply, exhale, engage the core, bend the knees if you need very deeply, and walk the hands to the back of the mat to the fold. In here, we're fully exhaled, feet are about hips distance apart. Inhale, engage the legs and the arms, and half lift where you can. Your half lift might not be a 90-degree angle of the back, might be more of a 15, that's okay. Exhale, back to the fold. Inhale, engage the core, bend the knees if you need. Come on up, your choice once more. You can roll up or come up with a straight back. With the inhale, exhaling hands down, heart center. Let's move to our second walking meditation. Inhaling, standing, weight to the left side. Exhale the right foot down. Inhale, left foot up. Exhale it down. As we make our way to the top of the mat, slow exploratory movements. Engage the core. And at the top of the mat, looking down at the fingertips, inhale, watch them rise. At the top, separate the hands, engage the core, hinge at the hips, and fold. Bend the knees if you need. At our fold, we're going to inhale, touch into the shins, the thighs, wherever, to half lift the back, and exhale back to the fold. Bend the knees if you need. Step the hands down, put the hands down to either side of the feet, and walk back to your high plank. Inhaling, shoulders over the wrists, this time long from the heels all the way to the crown of the head. In a couple more breath cycles here, it's a little shorter. Inhale, let's go ahead, lift the hips. Exhale, press into those extended arms. Bring the hips back for our second down dog. And here you can have really deep knee bends to help you stretch out and release the back of the calves, hamstrings. You can walk the dog once more. One more breath cycle here. See if your ears are somewhere in between the upper arms. And remember, it's an upside down V or perhaps U. We want our hands and feet moving downward as the hips move up. So with the next inhale, roll the eyes towards the hands. Exhale, engage the core, bend the knees if you need, and walk the hands to the back of the mat, to the fold. Fully exhaled in the fold, we inhale, lengthen best you can through the legs and the back. Exhale, fold. Bend the knees, engage the core, firm up the legs, come on up, back to mountain, inhaling. Exhale, hands down, heart center, and finally down to the side. And just let your body respond for a moment or two. All right, and we'll go ahead, get our drink of water, or as we transition to our standing balancing pose, we're going to move to just cultivating our one-legged stand. And if it helps to have a chair nearby, I highly encourage being next to a chair or a wall. Or if you've got good balance and you're just cultivating that, stand where you are. And again, the back of the chair is a good spot to just have somewhere nearby you. And as we're standing in mountain, you can go ahead, have the feet about hips distance apart, and just feel that center of gravity at the feet, as we did in the beginning, as we were cultivating that. And if you find that that is evenly distributed with the next inhale, we're just going to bring standing weight to the left side of the body. Not much else has moved with that right foot, but once you establish that center, start to see if you can lift up on the right heel. Perhaps you can even hover the entire right sole of the foot. But this is small steps, and if you need, you'll have that chair next to you in case you feel like you're falling. But hopefully you can also always tap down that right foot. Now for some of us, it's just one to cultivate that sense of stability on the one side of the body, on the left side here. You can continue that. Once you feel stable there, you can play with lifting the right foot, the sole of the right foot, the heel to begin with, perhaps the entire foot. And then we'll slowly bring that right foot down if it's lifted, and return even distribution of weight to both sides of the body, to both feet. Go ahead, lift up the left foot. Sometimes you have residual activation of muscles, so you want to kick forward gently, a little out to that same side of the leg. So it's your left leg, left side, before you cross the midline. Doesn't have to be big movements, especially if you're a little arthritic, if you're a little sore from extra activity. Move slowly. Listen to your body. So coming up again to mountain, we'll move to the other side. Hips distance are our feet. Once you have that stable with even distribution of weight, go ahead and bring weight to the right side of the body. Feeling that stacking of the joints, right ankle under the right knee, under the right hip, hopefully under the right shoulder. And as you establish that balance on the right side of the body, then you can explore whether you want to continue cultivating that balance on the right side of the body or lifting the left heel. Maybe even the entire left sole of the foot, just hovering it above the mat. You don't have to lift it any higher in order to cultivate that sense of balance. And breathing. It's about 3 breath cycles from that time we find that edge. And then you can always tap down the left ball of foot, the heel, bringing even distribution to both sides of the body. Perhaps you need to lift up that right foot and gently release any activation on that right side of the body. So kicking forward on the right leg. Make sure you're stable on that left leg first. And then out towards the right side, towards that same side, before you cross the midline. Alrighty. And coming on down, our next one will be chair. So coming to the side, I'm going to lift up here from a standing point. At this point, what we're hoping for is a lengthening of the body. When we first start in the morning, we might be so flexed in the hips that we're a little tented here. So as we're moving to our standing and balancing poses, especially here starting in chair, we're going to start in balance of mountain with hopefully the tailbone tucked under a little bit, the hips just pressing forward so that it helps us to bring the back into alignment. The shoulders rolling back and down, the spine sinking into the pelvic bowl, gentle tuck of the chin. Hopefully that alignment of the ear over the shoulder, hips, knees, and ankles. And you're feeling that well established at this point. So inhale the arms upwards, and you can have it at a tangent out or directly above you, whatever helps for your shoulders. And then exhale, start to bend the knees. And you should feel that hip center of support right above the ankles. And as you feel that engagement of the glutes with the core engaged, you can make it more challenging by simply getting deeper. If you find yourself a little more overwhelmed than you thought, you could always lift up and that'll help. But keep the glutes engaged, primarily feel it in the glutes, and hopefully you'll be strengthening those muscles you need to get up and out of a chair or sit down. So if your arms are tired, you can always bring them down to the hips, reestablish that, lift the toes, let the toes release. And then with the next inhale, let's go ahead and just inhale, straighten the legs, and come back to our mountain. You can gently tuck under the tailbone, lift up the shoulders, roll them back and down. Let's bring the arms up above us or out in front of us if we need to. If you can interlace the fingers, great. Inhale, reach up through the arms. See if you can articulate every body, every limb upwards. So you're pressing into the soles of the feet, maybe the big pads of the toes, and you'll feel an extension all the way from the heels to the fingertips. And then exhale, let the hands go back down. Bend the knees gently, give yourself a nice bounce. We'll go into chair one more time, reestablishing our foundation here at the feet. And once more, in our mountain, nice and tall. Go ahead and inhale, the arms go up. Exhale, engage the core and bend the knees. See if you want to go a little deeper this time. Notice how the center feels. How are you holding your foundation at the feet? Did your ankles roll out? Did they roll inward? Did they tip towards the heels more? Or the toes more? Lifting the toes will help you establish that center right at the heels. And if you want, you can also turn the pinkies inward if your arms are lifted. Feel the fingers growing outwards like branches. Engage the core. And if you have a lower back compression, tuck under the tailbone just a little more. Round out the lower back, but still feel your glutes engaging. And then we can inhale, lift up, straighten through the legs, lift up with the hands. Exhale, hands down, heart center, and just let them relax. Let the shoulders relax. Let the arms just dangle at your side. A gentle activation of your mountain muscles that you need to keep this form, a gentle bend to the knees. All right, and then we'll shake out any residual activation in the feet. I have a tendency to grip my mat. So, we'll go ahead and reestablish that and make our way down to the mat. Finding our way down to the belly. Maybe you can use that chair. Maybe you have a special way of squatting, forward folding. But as you make your way down to the belly, if it's comfortable to have something supporting your hip bones, go ahead and have a blanket there. But we're just coming down one forearm at a time for me, and then gently letting my hips unfold. And if you have tight hips, then it may take a while. You might be tented even for a while. Just breathe and give your body the chance to unwind. Sometimes with the help of gravity, your tightness in the joint areas, such as the tops of the ankles, the hips, the crooks of your elbows, the shoulders, it just helps to have that relaxed surrender so you can just have the earth support you with the help of gravity, gently pressing down on you. I have my face turned to one side. So press into the belly and the chest to turn the gaze if you are also just resting for a moment on either side of your cheek. As we transition down to the belly, now we're moving into a slower, more cooling down period of practice. And in here, we're focused on maybe getting into those tight crevices, just giving a fraction of space to an otherwise, neglected area. So as we're coming down, if your shoulders feel okay with bringing the elbows above, go ahead and pillow the hands underneath your above your hands, your wrists, your forearms, whatever feels good for you. We're just focusing on getting the length of the body from the hips down to the toes established. If that's too much, you can always just leave the arms down. But now as your body is probably a little more accustomed to being supported on the floor, we'll go ahead and bring our face to gently be supported by the mat, chin and nose hovered above the mat. And hopefully the elbows somewhere comfortable. So all we're going to do with the next breath is just lengthen through the lower legs. Inhale, start with the left leg, just lengthen that leg, point the toe gently. See if you can get the left hip all the way down to the toes, just long and relaxed on the mat. And then release that and let that be. Go ahead and do the same with the right leg. Inhaling, lengthen as you're still on the mat, keeping contact. And then once you feel nice and long in that right side of the body, the right leg, just release it. Then we'll release our arms, both of them now, to the sides of us, palms down. We're going to inhale, go ahead and lengthen through all 4 limbs. Fingers are together, just gently together. They don't have to be really aggressively tight, but just lengthen through long limbs, at the arms, at the legs. Inhaling and exhaling. Just actively reaching downward and long. With the next inhale, see if you can lift the feet while you're still actively long from the hips down to the toes. Exhale, release the feet back to the mat. Let the shoulders relax. You can even roll the palms up. Wherever your arms are, just keep them be where they are. Let them be where they are. And then turn the face to one side. Make sure the neck is aligned with the spine. Just rest. See if your shoulder that's lifted, see if that can relax into the mat. Just a couple of breaths. See if you're holding onto the glutes, onto the toes. See if you can let them go. Just let them melt into the mat. Take an inhale, press into the belly and the chest, turn the gaze. Rest on the other cheek. See if your shoulders, both of them, can melt into the mat. And then we'll inhale, pressing into the belly and the pubic bone once more. Just bring the face once more to the to hover over the mat. And then we'll go ahead and lengthen through the arms and through the legs once more, inhaling long. And then see about lifting the feet, maybe even the hands and the arms, palms towards the floor. And just lengthen. Your arms may not lift, but if you just have the intention of lengthening down the mat and lifting, even if you're not physically off the mat, you're starting to prep the muscles for it. And then release the feet, release the hands, the arms, and turn the gaze or pillow the hands under the brow. But just rest. And then we'll go ahead and turn onto our back. You may find it easier to transition to your back in your favorite way, a reverse push-up, maybe bringing an arm out above you, extending it and rolling onto your back. But however you get to your back, we're going to meet in our base bridge position for just a moment. In here, just make sure that you've got even distribution of weight on the back. You might feel like a rocking sensation to help you determine what's center, so that you're just laying on the flat of the sacrum. And there might be a slight curve to the lower back. If you have a tender lower back and you need a rolled up towel back there, maybe the blanket can be folded there, just something to support the lower back, go ahead and do that. Then the heels, somewhere where you can reach, maybe brush the fingertips against the heels, but they don't have to touch the backside. And they should be right below your hip bones. Knees pointing up towards the ceiling. And this is where we can bring our blocks or just the help of gravity, but bringing them out to the sides on this half setting. If you want to start there, you can always start at the lowest setting, you can start at the highest setting. But as we're here, we're just going to let our knees, you can hold the blocks, you can have the palms down off to the sides of your hips, but we're just going to let our knees drop to the left, rolling on the left side of our feet, the soles of our feet, like we did in our warm-up, finding that left edge. And maybe when we relax, our left knees windshield wiping over, our knees windshield wiping to the left, we may make contact with the block. You might find that you don't need the block there, but that's a good starting point. See how that feels, and we're savoring the openness in this extended windshield wipe to the left. Hopefully you're feeling an extension of this right hip, the quad, and you're finding a nice little stretch, twist to the lower right side of your back. If your right shoulder is still on the floor, that's good. You're getting the maximum stretch in your twist here of this windshield wipe. It can be lifted though, so you don't have to force that down. With the next inhale, go ahead and help your knees up. Gently engage the core, roll the sacrum down, helping the knees come back up with your hands if you need. Reestablish your base bridge position. We'll go over to the other side. If you need the block, it's there. If you don't, go ahead and move it out of the way. But go ahead and just exhale over to the other side. Your feet are in the same position. You're just rolling to the edge of the right side of the feet. And giving yourself about 3 to 5 breath cycles once you reach that side to determine if it's a good position for you. Sometimes we just need a little support to ensure that our body is safe before it releases just a little more. And as you're there, hopefully the last breath, we're going to help the knees up. Engage the core, roll the sacrum back, bring the knees up. And then one more time, realign if it became misaligned in the transition, the spine and the neck. Nice and comfortable. And once the base bridge is reestablished, we'll go ahead and come into a figure 4 modified. So lifting the left foot, we might need to use our hands around the material of our thigh. We might need that strap. We might just have our fingers interlaced behind the thigh. Notice what that reaching for the thigh and lifting the left foot. See if that lifted the right hip. See if that affected your balanced base bridge position. Make any adjustment necessary to come back. And once you've lifted the foot, we're going to externally rotate that hip before we start to bring that left heel over to the right thigh. And again, if you have arthritic hips, if you're just dry, if you're tight from a lot of activity, just take slow movements. You might be so tight, but it could just be that you need that time to open up and release. And what we're doing here is somewhere our left ankle should be either on top of this right knee, somewhat just nestled there, or maybe lower on that thigh, or maybe it's not even there. Maybe we're just trying to get it to this point where we can externally rotate the hip. Do what you can. You may need to try to assist. But notice if If your breath is changed, if it's too much for you, you'll see an arch in the neck, in the back, and you might just need to kind of back out and ease into it. But eventually, we're just trying to rest that left ankle on the right knee, making sure our base bridge is still stable, the back is nice and relaxed, the sacrum evenly distributing the weight. And if this left knee is winging inward, we're just focusing on opening up that left hip. Gently just place the left hand on the thigh. And for the rest of us, if you have that openness of that upper part of the figure four, you're now just going to see if you can grab a hold of the right thigh and lift the right foot off the floor. And that's just helping you to transition to the full figure four. And it might be that that's hard. You might need a block under the foot. You may not be in that transition yet. Or you might be there holding up your leg. Wherever you are, we're just breathing. The last 5 breath cycles in our figure four may involve the extension of our right leg. And again, all of that depends on the practice. And hopefully at that point where we're just able to hold the pose with comfort and ease, you're breathing the ocean breath. Inhaling to bring in the energy to circulate through the body. And the exhale, hopefully allowing the body to release. If it feels good, you can always extend through the right heel to help extend and straighten and lengthen the back of the right leg. A nice little roll of the right ankle, maybe a wiggling of the toes. And after your very last breath, you can, if you're in a full figure four, go ahead and bend the right knee, bring that right foot to land, gently supporting that right foot on the mat, and then focusing on lifting the left ankle, internally rotating that hip. You can lift up, imagine lifting up and internally rotating, helping that left foot land. Now, if you feel fragile because you've opened your hips for such a long time, move slowly. Bringing the hands out, we're going to windshield wipe gently, slowly from left. And you can help your knees come back up if you need, or just engage the core and gently bring a slow windshield wipe from side to side with the breath. And if you find that there's not much to be slow about, you might increase the frequency and just get that even counter stretch. We'll move over to the other side. So we had our left foot over, so now we're going to the right foot. In our base bridge position, is the spine aligned with the neck? Are your heels about hips distance apart, reachable by the fingertips? Then we can go ahead and assist the right foot to lift by bringing the hands, maybe the strap around the thigh. And notice how that translates in the rest of the bridge. If you lifted the left hip, make sure they're both evenly distributing the weight before you move further. But we're just eventually externally rotating that right hip before we bring the right ankle to rest somewhere on this left knee, left thigh. And again, if our hips are starting to lift, if our neck is starting to lift, we might be dealing with really super tight areas that need a transition. So you might need to back out and just cultivate this position. But eventually, we're just waiting for the hips, the base bridge to maintain itself. And then you can focus on opening up on the right hip, right knee, keeping the right foot flexed, making sure this right knee is not winging inward. Notice if your glutes are just tight. That's another indication, is something is actively holding on, contracting when it doesn't need to. And as you find that 3 to 5 breath cycles that it takes to find the edge, and hopefully making your way to your full figure 4, you'll take the 5 breath cycles after your edge to cultivate the rest of the figure 4 and extend through this left leg. So we'll take a hold of our left thigh, maybe with the strap, maybe with our hands, maybe the materials. We're making sure the sacrum and the back is nice and supported. We lift up on the left foot. See if that's doable. If it is, and you're just bringing the left knee to that perpendicular position. I'm pretty tight in my right hip, so that's about all my figure 4 is going. But for you, if your left thigh is in a 90-degree angle, you can go ahead, finish off your 5 breath cycles from there. See if you want to extend through the left leg. But you can be in your modified figure 4, just breathing, encouraging the openness in the hips and the right knee. And hopefully by the last breath, you're just floating on the ocean with your Ujjayi breath, that yogic breath. And after your last exhale, if your left leg is extended, bend the left knee, gently allow the left foot to land. And then we're just going to allow the right ankle, right foot to lift slightly before we internally rotate the right hip and allow the right foot to land. Remove any props. In here, we'll gently windshield wipe once more. Base bridge position realigned. Just gently let the knees fall to the right. And if it is available, you can speed up the frequency of your windshield wipe, but start off slow and explore how the hips are feeling as you're responding to the figure 4 modified on the right side. And if it feels good, then we're preparing for Shavasana next. Extend through the left and right legs, slowly letting them down the mat, and you might find that the lower back lifts. So give yourself, again, that transition time. You might need to make some movement in the body, maybe an extended overhead arm stretch and pointing of these extended legs. Maybe a gentle yawn and flexion of the feet, wiggling of the fingers and toes. Maybe just a gentle rocking from side to side. But as you move into Shavasana, I'm going to sit upright, but you can lay down and develop your response to today's practice on your back. Having a blanket over you if that feels good. And the legs can be together and then just release, let the feet roll apart from each other. Or you can actually separate the legs and have them pointing towards the corners of the mat. But keeping the arms extended along the side of your body, palms facing up, in a gentle closing of the eyes or soft gaze to just help you start to release a second sleep, if you will, to allow the body to respond to today's practice. And in 5 minutes, you'll hear the 3 bells to awaken. bringing the mind back to the body, taking note of sounds outside the room, sounds within the room, and finally back to the breath. As the air enters the nose, feel the chest lift, and as the air leaves the nose, feel the belly fall. As you reconnect to the body once more, re-inhabiting your body vessel, wiggle your fingers, toes, make any movement that helps you to re-inhabit. And coming onto the side, fetal position, or however you'd like to make your way up to an easy seated position. I'm in a hero pose. You're welcome to sit with one leg out in front of you. You can sit in staff as well. But we'll end our class with our alternate nostril breathing exercise to help bring balance and a little more energy to the body. So left hand, chin mudra, index finger to the thumb, resting the back of that hand on your left thigh. Right hand is in our Vishnu mudra, 2 fingers to the mount of the thumb. We'll close the right nostril with the right thumb, left nostril with the right ring finger. You can always bring the 2 fingers to the brow line if that's hard to hold the Vishnu mudra. So go ahead, inhale deeply, closing the right nostril with the right thumb. Exhale through the left nostril. Completely exhale to engage the core. Feel the pelvic floor lift. Inhale through the left. Close. Exhale through the right. Inhale through the right. Close. Exhale through the left. Inhale through the left. Close. Exhale through the right. Inhale through the right. Close. Exhale through the left. Inhale through the left. Close. Exhale through the right. Inhale through the right. Close. Exhale through the left. Inhale through the left. Close. Exhale through the right. Inhale through the right. Last round. Exhale through the left. Inhale through the left. Close. Exhale through the right. Release the right hand. Release both mudras. Allow the breath to return to its natural state. And bring the hands to heart center. Thank you so much for joining us here at the ACC for Gentle Yoga at noontime. I hope you have a wonderful day. Namaste.